Breakpoint is back, and this season things look more intense than ever before in the world of tennis. With the best players, 4 Grand Slams and 100-plus events across 2 world tours, Netflix's docuseries picks up with a new season of serving action and absolutely runs with its premise. Of course, as a result, it continues to hit the same issues that plagued the first season, with the same editing issues on the pitch and a rushed, tunnel-vision narrative. For those who didn't read our first season review, which is linked above, Breakpoint basically follows different players across the world as they try to become the best tennis players they possibly can be, trying to overcome adversity and struggling to climb the lofty rankings to claim that coveted #1 spot. Netflix have insider access to these different players and tourneys, following players as they prepare behind the scenes, hit the court for their matches, and then return backstage after either reveling in euphoria or breaking down in agony. The stories we follow across the 6 episodes are pretty good and certainly worth following. Seeing Sabalenka's win in the Australian Open or Rune's consistent drive to try and become the best, typified by a famous win over Djokovic in Rome, are definite highlights. However, there are other moments that don't quite fire off as well as they should, including the episode dedicated to Wimbledon. While on paper it looks good, with the women's side of the game open up like never before, the character-driven focus here is at its worst and typifies the overarching issues with this series. Breakpoint has always focused on individual players rather than following the entire script of each of the 4 big Grand Slam tournaments. This was noticeable in the second half of the show last year, where big events were just glossed over or, at its worst, missed completely. This is something that shows up here too. As a result of this tunnel vision of following 1 or 2 players, tennis fans are likely going to be disappointed with how much has been left out of each tournament. It's also worth noting that the first episode is a bit self-indulgent too. Titled The Curse, the episode cheekily runs with the idea of the Netflix curse, where big players pull out of tournaments for different reasons due to the curse of the Netflix cameras being on them. There are constant mentions of Netflix and even translucent Twitter feeds popping up with random fans giving their opinions on proceedings too. At times it does feel a bit much, like a joke that's amusing and garners a smile and then outstays its welcome with constant nudges and reminders. Of course, everyone going into this is likely wanting some exciting action on the tennis court, but again Breakpoint reverts back to old tricks here. The action is spliced up and edited in such a way that we don't really get a feel for the art of the sport or the back and forth of matches. Drive to Survive nailed this early on in its run by showing each race, or at least the most important ones, from start to finish. Tennis is obviously a lot longer, but the lack of excitement and a feel for how matches play out is disappointing. Breakpoint instead relies solely on the money shots and big parts of matches, spliced up with extreme close-up shots of players' faces, rapid-fire moments of different serves, and a couple of graphical displays to show the scores changing. This is a shame because the stories off the pitch are actually quite interesting. Seeing